All right, guys, now we're going to be talking about understanding scenarios. Okay, so this is really important because you got to understand the most common things you're going to see when you're talking to these clients, right? And so understanding the scenario. So what I'm going to be talking about is the why of the scenarios. Like, why do they even need the insurance? And the most common things you're going to see and what to look for to identify the why to make the sale. Okay, so I'm going to break it up into age categories, kind of, and what's most common with those. And so this is going to be prepping you for going in the home. So now we're going to start with like 70-year-olds. So I'm going to set it up to 70-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and 30-year-olds, generally in those age brackets, kind of what's going on, right? So for 70-year-olds, they're mostly going to be looking for just final expense costs, cover of cremation or burial, right? Maybe they want to leave a little gift behind to their, it could be their children, their grandchildren, right? Just leave a little something extra behind. Maybe a little bit of debt they have. They want to take care of a little bit of debt. Or the other thing is they're looking at more retirement solutions, right? And we're not going to this isn't like an annuity training or retirement solutions, but this is where you can try to identify to see if they have retirement funds or funds that need to be allocated somewhere else to help protect them. And so those are the main things you're going to be looking for, like that 70-year-old, right? 70 and above. They're not really going to be looking for, to have a huge death benefit or anything like that, because there's really no need, right? And so next we're going to be looking at like 50-year-olds, right? So 50-year-olds land right in between that 70 to 30. So, they could have a little bit of everything, right? And so they could be a mortgage client, right, where they want to protect their loan on their actual mortgage so that their kids or their spouse or whatnot can stay in the house. They may want some sort of like income replacement. Like, let's say one of the people in the home is the main income earner, right? We need to protect that income with a death benefit, with a larger death benefit, so that the spouse can either pay off the home or actually buy enough time to be able to stay in the home or whatnot, okay? So you might see those scenarios. You also might see somebody who's 50 who's really not that healthy in their 50s, and they might just need the final expense coverage, right? You'll see that too a lot. What you're going to be looking at is if they're healthy or not, right? Because most of the time, 70-year-olds, right, you'll run into some healthier ones, but more often than not, they're going to be a little bit more unhealthy typically. 50-year-olds, you're really going to be figuring out if they're healthy or not for what they can qualify for, right? Because if they want to leave a huge death benefit for their family, but they're too unhealthy to qualify for a term coverage, that's something you need to be going in knowing that you're going to have to talk about whole life and how to talk about whole life, right? And then the last one here is going to be for 30-year-olds, right? They're going to have younger kids, right? Taking advantage of their health, right? They could be looking at doing some sort of like supplementing a retirement with an IUL. Also, income replacement, like we talked about before, or a mortgage as well. So they're going to be a lot of those. They're not really going to be looking for final expenses. So if you run into like a 30-year-old, somebody in their 20s or 30s, they're not really looking at final expense. They're looking to maybe living benefits as well. If they did get sick in the future, they would be able to take advantage of those living benefits and whatever term or IUL products that we're offering them. Okay. And so those are kind of the whys and what you're going to be looking for and identifying with everybody that you're talking to and sitting down with to see, okay, if they want final expenses, we're looking at more of a whole life. They're looking at more of like an income replacement. We're looking at more of like a term. If we're looking at mortgage protection, probably looking at a term. If we're looking for supplementing retirement, or just permanent insurance, we're looking at an IUL. If they're healthy, they can get a bigger death benefit, more permanent. Maybe they like the idea of not just spending their money on term every single month. They want to put it into like a savings that grows that through an indexed account. And so those are the main things you guys are going to be looking for when you're talking about the why, understanding the why. And it all comes down to their beneficiary. So that's the number one thing you need to figure out is who is their beneficiary. And then we're going to figure out why the beneficiary needs for final expense coverage, why they need to protect them from the debt, why they need to cover for the mortgage, why they need the income replacement for their beneficiaries. Why is that? If you can nail that down and you can have the client understand that as well, it's going to make really, really easy to get a sale. Now, by the end of this, you guys should know, right, what kind of client you're looking at by their age, and what kind of products we're going to be looking at depending on their age, right? And so a lot of times with the final expense with these types of leads, you're going to be looking at people in their 50s to 70s a lot of times. And so just be looking out for that, right? Sometimes a final expense lead, you'll sit down with them, it might turn into a mortgage protection lead, or it could turn into a annuity lead, or sometimes too, guys, even they might have younger kids. And if you can convey or explain like, hey, a lot of clients like about this because if they have younger kids, say in their 30s, right, or in their 20s, a lot of people like these because they can create a supplement retirement through an IUL, or we have really, really cheap terms to make sure to take care of income replacement. And if you can explain that why to people in their 50s or 70s, they might refer you to their kids, right? So it's just good to understand all these different types of things. And now you guys should be able to understand why each client and what age bracket is, and why they would need the coverage, and the main reasons why they need the coverage.